Good evening, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well. So, we have covered in yesterday's session about the React part, like what is React, how to set it locally at our system, and what is the component. The theoretical part we have seen about it, that the component is basically a reusable bit of code. And I have given you an example on also regarding Instagram post, right? So that is basically a component. Now there are two types of component. One is functional component and one is class component. So today we will just basically going to see them in detail. So without wasting any time, let me share my screen first. Okay. So just we are going to recap that what we have done up to now, and then we'll start quickly. Yes. So everything we have seen that how to do this setup, right? And how to write the code in app.jsx, whatever will be there inside this function app, which is a functional component, which is returning some HTML to us. We have to execute it and that will be rendered to our function. We have seen the flow also that there is index.html in which there is a ID root, right? And this id root is basically a div part which is right now empty, and whatever content we want to enter inside it, that is happening through our main.jsx, that it is a creating root in that particular div and rendering these particular code part in it. Why this strict mode is used? This strict mode basically lets you know that if there will be any syntax error, any type of security you have not configured, that it will tell you. So it is just for security and privacy. So in this app.jsx, whatever code you have written, that will be basically rendered to your web page. Okay. Now, today we are going to start with React components. So here you can see that they are showing us that there is a functional component car, and what you are doing, you are just returning an HTML inside it. So if I want to write this type of code, okay, so what should I have to do? I have to write the code over here. Like I can write the code inside it, and this will be then called in my index.html. One way is this. Other way is that I will, this app is basically, this app functional component is basically rendered to our website, right? And the code for app is written in app.jsx. So what I am saying, that instead of returning this part, I will return them another functional component, and that code will be written in separate file. So what is the purpose of doing that? So that we can create, like, see, if I create a folder here having name components, okay, and inside this component, if I want to execute some code, right, inside this, if I want to use car.jsx, if I press enter, then to run this car.jsx, here I am going to write all the code for my component part. Okay, like all the functional components, I am going to write the code for them here. And I just call this functional component, whatever code I am going to write in this file, I just call this file in app.jsx, so that there will be no much code in a single file and code will be maintainable. Because as a developer, it's our responsibility that we can write the clean code. Okay, clean code means that in a single file there will be no hotspot. So to avoid that, basically what we will do, we will create a separate folder in the source folder, which is components. And inside this component, I will create a file and I will write the code from scratch over here, and that I will call in app.jsx. So without wasting any time, just try to do this. Okay, so what it is? A functional component having name car, and it is returning some HTML. So why I have used W3 school? Because there are some code snippets. Okay, so we are basically going to understand what this each line mean, and then we will execute it parallelly in our VS code. As this is incomplete code, so we will write full functional code and then we will execute it. So function car. Okay, you have defined a function car and it is returning an HTML. So that means that it is a functional component having name car. Okay. And what it will return if you just render it on the website? Hi, I am a car heading, right? So I am just copying it. I will move to my VS Code. Here I am created this car.jsx, right? Here I am going to paste it, and that I will going to use in app.jsx so that I can see the output. Okay, so what I am doing, you all know that this is a file. Car.jsx is a separate file, right? And to use this file in your app.jsx, what you have to do, you have to export it. Only then you can import the functionality. So I am exporting it. Export default car. Okay, what I have done, that I am using export default. Just a second. Okay, so what I am doing, I am using export default car so that all the code written inside it can be imported. Right. Now I will move to my app.jsx. Here what I have to use, I have to import it. All of you are familiar with the languages like C, C++, Java, Python. Okay. What we do there, that to use a particular function or to predefined libraries, we have to include some header files like has include iostream.h. Okay. Like that, suppose you are again importing something. So import. Now the main things come. Now you have to provide them the name of the component which you are importing. So what we were exporting there, we were exporting car from there. So same thing I will do here. Import car, okay, from, and where is the basically our car file? It is there in a folder having name components, and inside that there is car.jsx. There my car component is written. So I have to provide them the full path for it. And this is the full path. What I have done, import car from the proper path. Now what does it dot slash means? That in like in the same folder, like in source folder only, there is another folder component. Just move to that, and when you move to this components folder, there is a file car.jsx. Here the code is written for car component. Now everything is done. You have imported the file where the code of that functional component is written. Now I have to execute that code. Whatever is written over there, I have to execute it. So for that, you have to just use like this. Like, see what is happening. Uh, I have created a components folder. I have written car.jsx inside it, right? Car.jsx code is this. Okay. And I want to import this functionality that this should render in my website. To render this in my website, I am just calling it in app.jsx, because at last, whatever is written in this app component is basically rendered to our website through main.jsx. I can assure that. Why? Because it is rendering only that functionality which is written in my app component. Okay, perfect. So if I move to app.jsx, so what is now written in app.jsx? The functional component car. So as soon as user will execute this code, what should happen? That the whatever is written inside this car component, that will be executed. Now, one more thing I want to tell, that whenever you are creating a component, okay, functional component, class component, any type of component, the first letter of that component must be capital. You can't use small c. Okay, you have to use capital C. This is basically a predefined rule for it, that while creating a component, it is must that you have to use a capital letter at first place. Okay. Now what we have to do to execute it? We are right now in React R. So where we have to go? We have to go inside learn React, because everything is defined there. So change directory CD means change directory to file name or folder name. Learn React. Perfect. After that, what we have to do? npm run dev to start my site. When I just click over here, you can see here it is coming. Hi, I am a car. So you can see we are getting the output also, right? What we have do? Once again, I am telling you the flow, that I can write any code in app component, right? I can write any line of code that will be rendered, correct? Okay. Now I want that to create different files and to only call their functional components over here in this component so that the code will be maintainable. Right now, suppose if there is a car component, I can add multiple component like registration page, like any other components. Okay, so it will be easy for you to navigate through this components folder. If there will be any error, then you can resolve it. Right now, this is very simple because we have written only one file and only one line is there. So to keep it clean, to maintain it, to maintain the code, to understand that if there will be any error regarding any component, then we can just move to that particular file and resolve that error. So to maintain these things, basically what we do, we just do this thing that we create a separate components folder, and inside it we will create multiple files and call it one by one as per our requirements. I hope it is clear to you. Okay. So this is one thing. This is known as how you are calling your car component inside a app functional component. I hope that it is clear to you. Now, there is a rendering of component which we have already seen. What is happening now? That inside your create root element, whatever you have created, it is rendering app component, and inside app component, whatever app component will be returning, that will be executed. So app component is returning our car component. So that's why we are getting hi, I am a car as the output. Okay, perfect. You may be confused. So let me also clear that here what we are rendering app component. So sir, you are rendering app component, then how this hi I am a car is coming? So let me tell you. So here in app.jsx, you are calling this, right? You are calling this component. And on calling this component, what it is returning? It is returning car component. So that's why whatever is returning in this car component. Now, how you can come to know that what is written inside car component? For that, you have imported this file. That move to the components folder, go to the car.jsx, and there in car.jsx, the code is written. This you have to return on the web page. So this is how the flow is going. And I think now it is clear to you that how everything is working. Okay. Then see, right now they are discussing about props, but I am thinking that there is a separate portion of it in upcoming section. So then we will deep dive into this concept, because right now they are just introducing you that what are the things you are going to learn in the ahead section. Then there is something called components in components. Now, what does it mean by components in components? Now you are clear with the term component, right? So components is component. Name is basically suggesting you that there will be a component and inside it there will be another component. That is what I am thinking or assuming after reading this line. Now let's see. This is some code they have written at their end. Now just see that what is happening. There is a functional component car because it is returning HTML, so it is a functional component. Perfect. Now, there is another functional component, garage. And what is happening in garage? It is returning me h1 tag that who lives in my garage, and then this car component. So that is what means component in component, that there is a another component which is defined earlier inside this component. So basically car component is inside your garage component. Okay. So how to execute it? Let's see about this. Then it will be more clear to you. So I am just going to go to car.jsx because here is my every code written. Okay. Now see, one thing is this, that you have used this car component. Okay. You have defined this car component and you are calling it inside another component. So which one of them is a parent component? Parent component means that uh, those component which have the definition of other components also. So this garage components has its functionality also, as well as it is consisting of the child component which is car. So component is component in component, and garage is the parent component. So whenever a user is going to call garage component, that means that car component will automatically will be called. Okay. So now you will be clear that while doing export default, what should I have to return over here? Car or garage? When I'm calling car, what should happen? Only hi, I am a car will come. But as soon as I call garage, what should happen then? That first of all, this line will come and then this car component will come. And for car component, what is the code? This is the code. So this is basically known as component in component. You have seen nested function multiple times. Same thing is there. Now, if you have exported garage component, so make sure that in app.jsx, you have to import garage component and you have to call garage component. Otherwise, there will be no output for you. So what I have to do, I have to make it to garage. Okay. Now, one more thing I want to tell, that this is something which like students forgot, that they have to use it over here. Like they have to import it first and then use it. If you are not going to import it, then how will your file will come to know that where is this garage component written? Okay, so that is must that you should give them that. Now, if I move to the output screen, before that, let's go to car.jsx. Let's try run the output first, and then we will see that what we are getting in the output screen. So what should happen if you have called this garage component in your, suppose, code? Okay, so it will move to car.csx and it will search for garage component. Okay, here is the garage functional component. Okay, and what it is returning? It is returning the h1 tag. First of all, there will be a heading, who lives in my garage, and after that your car component will be called. And what is car component? I am a car. So the output is who lives in my garage, and after that I am a car. So this is something we are expecting. Now let's try to see it. Okay, so as soon as I go to my output screen, are you able to see same output we are getting here, that who lives in my garage and I am a car. This who lives in my garage is coming from our garage component. And as there is another component inside garage component, which is your car component, so that's why I am getting I am a car. I hope it is clear to you. And this is very basic. Just think this process as function inside a function, nested function. Okay, same thing is there. Okay. Now they are telling you that rendering a component twice. So that means that a component will be called first and that will show its output uh, twice. Means we are going to call the function twice only. What does that mean? Right now I am calling car component one time, so I am getting this line, I am a car, only once. We can check the output screen also. I am getting I am a car only once. But as soon as I call it one more time, so there is no error in this. Why? Because already car component is reusable bit of code. That's why we are creating component, so that we can call it anytime and multiple times. Okay, so you can see as soon as I am increasing the number of components over here, and if I, okay, now it will execute it. Yeah, so if I go to our this, are you able to see now? Right now I am getting 3 times this car. I am a car tag. So that's why we say that components are reusable bit of code. Now it will connect to you with the theoretical part, that why we call component as a reusable bit of code. Because we have written the code for this component only once. Only once we have written the code, and every time I am calling that component, it is providing me the same output. So that's why it is static in nature. As soon as you call it, it will provide you the same functionality, whatever you have returned in the component. Okay. Right now it is very simple that we have written only a single line. Hi, I am a car. Suppose in this component, I have created a box layout, right? And on calling this component multiple times, what should happen? That box will repeat. So this is the benefit of your component. This is why, that's why they are called reusable bit of code. Now, I hope that it is clear to you. Okay. Now, they are telling you that components in file, how you can run a particular component in file. Basically, this is what we are doing from the starting. What they are saying, that just create a .jsx file and export that file, because you have to import it somewhere else. Then only your function will come to know, okay, there is the code written for this. So same thing they are doing. We have already done that. What we have done, let me tell you that we have created a components folder. We have created a separate file and there we are writing the code. Now to use this code outside this file, we have to export this file. You know the concept of importing and exporting, right? Import means that there is some predefined functions and you want to use that. And export means then this functionality you want to export so that you can use it somewhere else in the program. So that's why we do import and export. Okay, that is also covered. So app.jsx, these things are happening over here. What we have done up to now, we have seen that how we can create a particular functional component in a separate file. Okay, in car.jsx, we have written the code for it, how it is returning something. Then we have seen why to export it so that we can import it in another file. When we are importing it in another file, we have to make sure that we will provide them the proper path that import this garage component from. And from after from, you have to define the path. So I have defined the path that in the same folder, in the same source folder, there is a components folder. When you move to it, then there is a car.jsx. So you can also check it from here. If I close this source folder, you can see we are not able to see components folder. When I click over here, yes, now there is a components folder also. In components folder, what is there? Car.jsx is there. Yes, so this is how you are going to give them the proper path for it. And when you have to call the component, you can simply use this type of indication. I hope it is clear to you. So if that is clear, then you can answer this, how you can render a component called house in React. So basically they are asking you that if there is a component named house, then how you can render it in React. So the first option is root.render house. Another option is root.render house. And third option is root.render again house with a syntax over it. Okay. So first of all, see, all the three things are same here, root.render, root.render, root.render. So the output will be based on only these braces, right? So let's check what is the correct way of doing it. So first of all, this is not a components declaration. This is also not a component declaration. And we come to know that yes, that's how we call a component. So basically, if we have to render it a component, we have to call it. And for calling, this is the correct syntax. So if I submit the answer, then you can see we are getting correct answer. Okay. So this is how you can clear all these things. Okay. Now React class components. Now from here, we are going to see about class components, which is basically important thing so that you come to know that why in traditional time we were using class component and why in nowadays after the invention of hooks part we are using our this particular thing. Okay, so just let's start with the class component. I hope that functional component is now clear to you. So React class components. Before React 16.8, class components were only way to track state and life cycle. Now what they are saying that before the invention of your hook, okay, hooks in React, there was only class component which have the access to the React state. And what is React state? I have already told you, the dynamic things, the dynamic elements which change its property. Okay, so only the class component have the access to them. So that's why we were using class component at that time. There is no type of state or lifecycle access in functional components before the invention of hooks. So that's why they were not used. Okay. Functional components were considered stateless. So if you read this line, then you will come to know the answer. Class components were the only way to track state and lifecycle of a React. Now, what is the life cycle of React? Life cycle means inserting an element into the DOM, updating that element and deleting that element. When we will move to the upcoming sections, I will tell you that what is this life cycle also. We'll, for each and every phase, we are going to deep dive in each concept. Don't worry. So class components were the only way to track state and life cycle of a React component, functions component were considered stateless. So that's why they were not used, because they have not the access to any type of state part. With the addition of hooks, functional component are now almost equivalent to class component. So they are saying after there is a hook, something like hook, after that invention, what is happening? That you have equivalent to class component now. So basically class component is also there, hook functional component is also there. Then why we are using functional component nowadays? The reason is that functional components are comparatively easy. Okay, means the syntax is easy, you can understand it quite easily. So that's why, basically, that's why, because of its simplicity, we are going to focus on functional component more. And that's why we are using it in our projects. Okay. Now, the difference are so minor that you will probably never need to use a class component in React. So can you see they are saying that after the invention of hook, functional component and class component are so equivalent that you don't need to use class component at your end. But that doesn't mean that the existence of class component is not there. You can use class component, but it is good to use a simple syntax. Even though functional component are preferred, there are no such plans on removing class components from React. So they are saying that if function components are preferred, then there is no current plans for removing class component from React. They are also there. So if someone asks you that is class component removed from React or not, so what would be your answer? No, that is not removed from it. It is just a case that functional component has an easy syntax or easy to understand. So that's why we are using functional component, but class component also exists. Okay. Now, React component, we have already seen it that components are the reusable bit of code. They same purpose as JavaScript function, but just return some HTML. Okay. Now, how to create a class component? Now it will be clear to you that what is the difference between the syntax of class component and the syntax of your functional component. So you can see class car extends React.component. So are you seeing that how many tough jargons they have used over here? That class car extends React component. Same thing if I have to done through functional component, that I have to use function car and then this return type. Yes, that will be there. So this is how the code matters, because functional components are quite easy. So you can see class car. Okay, yeah, you are creating a class component having name car, and it is extending to the parent library, which is your React.components. Here you are using a render function inside which you are returning some HTML. So this is basically the syntax. Now let's see what is happening. So if we move to component console, so let's try to execute this first, like how to execute the first class component. So we are going to discuss that now. If I move to car.jsx, I am erasing all the code written over here and just pasting what we just have copied. So now see, class car extends react.component. I have to use in another file. So that's why I have to export it. How to export it? Export default car, right? Now see, if I move to app.jsx, what I have to do first of all, I have to change the name of component because now it is car. And I have to also call it here. Okay, we have done it. Now, if we move to this, are you seeing that there is a blank screen coming over here? We are not getting the output. The reason is, you can see if I move to car.jsx, it is using something like extends react.component. That means that it is basically using some predefined function. Okay, so if you are using any predefined function, then you have to include its library also. What I'm saying, just right now, suppose you are a C language student, okay, or a C++. So for using clear screen method for using see in see out, or for using get character function, what you have to do, you have to include header files like has include iostream.h. That is something, a header file which contains all the definition of those function. Same thing is happening here. You are using extra function like render. So where is the definition for this render function? So the definition is inside import react, just a second, import react from React inside this React library. Okay, so in this module, React module, all the predefined code which we are using here, like React.component, this component method, this render method, that is there in this particular header file. So that was missing, and that's why we were not getting the output. So what is the additional thing comparative to functional component and class component? First of all, we have to import a header file. We have to import a React library. Okay. Then there is one another render function over here, and there are extends keyword to inherit the class. Okay, we use extend so that we can just inherit the parent class properties in the child class. So right now this class car is basically subclass of your react.components, which is from react.components you are using different functionalities over here. Okay, now if I move over here and if I refresh it, are you able to see? I am getting the output now that hi, I am a car. So these things are there, and you can see it is not mentioned over here because they have given the incomplete code. They have not given us the importing part. They have not given us the exporting part. They have just given this bit of code, and you have to be very careful when you are copying the code, because everyone can copy the code, but you have to be the deep knowledge of each and everything, then only you can explain it to others. Okay, so just make sure that code will be available everywhere. You have to be very precise with each and every explanation of terms, like why we are using class car extends react.component, because we are creating a class component. Why we are using extend? Because we are inheriting some components property from this React library which we have just imported so that we can render something to our web page. Okay, why we are exporting it? So that it can be used in another file. What is the another file? app.jsx. Here I am calling it, and that's why I am getting it. Hi, I am a car. These are the things which you have to be pretty sure. Okay. Now, your React application has a component called car which returns a h2 element. To use this component in your application, use similar syntax as normal HTML car. Okay, there is nothing that much important. So they are saying the same thing, that if you want to render it, you just have to call it inside car functionality. But as we are doing in file in on separate file, so we are calling it in app function component also. Okay, so in app component, if we are calling it, so by default, whatever is running in the app component, that will be executed. Correct? Okay, component constructor. Now, as we are talking about class component, so class basically is incomplete without your constructor. Okay, so let's try to understand what is this constructor, and that will be good. So if there is a constructor function in your component, this function will be called when the components get initiated. What they are saying, that if there is a component constructor, okay, so whenever you are calling that component in app.jsx, whenever you are calling this, so after calling it only, the constructor will initiate its process. As soon as you call this function, this or call this functional component or class component, this constructor will get called. Okay, the constructor function is where you initiate the component's property. So what you are going to do inside constructor, you are going to initialize some initial value to the element. So as we are talking about now state, why we were using class component? Because it have the access to state. And what is state? Some properties, like some dynamic properties which may vary from person to person. Okay, in React, components property should be kept in object called state. So here they are saying you that state, you will learn more about state in the upcoming section. The construction function is also where you honor the inheritance of parent component by including the super statement, which executes the parent component constructor function, and your component has access to all the feature of the parent component. So nothing, just they are telling you that this super function they are using over here so that your child component will have the all the feature of your parent component. So that's why only they are using this super function over here. So you can write it here. The constructor function is also where you honor inheritance of parent's component by including the super function statement. This is there they are using, okay, which executes the parent component's constructor function. So what it will do, it will execute the parent component uh, constructor function, and your component has access to all the function of parent component, which is your React.component. So through this super function, you are you are just executing this React.component, the parent component, okay, and all the functionality of that React.component function will be now inherit to your component, your class car component, okay. So this is something. Now let's try to see that what is happening through this code. So I will first explain it over here, then we will move to VS Code, we will complete the code and then we will execute it. Now you are familiar class component it is, and it is extending React.components, and it is calling a constructor. So what should happen when a constructor function is there? As soon as you call your component, this will execute. On executing it, it will call this super function. What the super function will do? It will ask React.component to execute, okay, and provide and to inherit all the properties from that to the car component, okay. Now what should happen through this? Now you have to be very careful about it. This dot state, they are using current object state, means whatever object we know that constructor is used to create a object, right? So as soon as you call a constructor, a object will be created. Now this dot state is referring to the current object state, and append that state as color to be red. This is something which we are unable to do with the functional component, to access the state, to play with the life cycle of React components. Okay, this is what something which is missing over there, and that's why only after hooks we can do these things in functional component. So this dot state means that to the current state add the color as red and return it. Okay, so right now what they are doing, let's try to execute it, then it will be more clear to you. Just a second. If I come to car.jsx and if I erase all the code written over there, okay, class car extends react.component. So if it extending a parent class, then you have to define the parent class code also. So where is the parent class code? So it is from import react from React. Okay, that's it. Now, if that is done, now what you have to do? You have to export it, right? So class car is defined for already for you. And what should happen after doing it? A object will be uh, created, and that state will come to color as red. But you are not able to see this because whatever you will be rendering, only that will come to the screen. So you are rendering only, hi, I am a car. So we will come to see this when we will access these things. Okay, right now, no worries. We can export it. Export default car. This is I am doing, and you can see the output is same. I am a car. Okay. And that is written over there in HTML part that I am a car. No color is showing to you in the screen, like no red is written over there, right? So how to do that? You have initialized the state, but sir, what is the benefit of initializing a state if we are not able to see that in our component part in our rendering process? So, okay, if you are using it over here, then you have to also mention it while returning, then only you can see it. So now this is a perfect example. See what is happening. As soon as user call the car component, this constructor will get called first. Okay. What it has done, it has inserted the state of color to be red, means to the current object, sorry, to the current object, what they have done, that this dot state color to red means set the current state of this object with the color red. So if you want to access it, how you can do it? Let's try to do it. I am a, if I write here, this dot state, not global this, just a second. This, no, why it is happening global? Not, wait. This dot, okay, I will copy it. It is referring to it. So if I just copy this particular part, then I will tell you that what is happening. Okay, I was using different one. That's why, just a second. Okay, see what I have changed. Through constructor, I have set it the color as red. Okay, perfect. But now if you want to render it to the website, then you have to return it in after the return. So hi, I am this dot state. Now this dot state is referring to it. Dot color. Now move to the color property. So what is the output for this? This dot state dot color is set it to red. So when as a user you are going to render it in the website, what should you get? I am a, this will render you red car. So let's try it. So you can see I am a red car is coming as soon as we have used this bit of code. What we have done, we have through constructor, we have defined the color of the element as red. And then we are just calling it through this dot state dot color. Okay, clear? Now we are going to see about props. So props are basically nothing. See, think it as a simple parameter. Like suppose there, I have already given you this example. I am repeating that again, that there is a function sum. You have to add two numbers and you are asking user to give you the number as a parameter. So at the function call, what you will do, that's call the sum function with 5 comma 7 suppose. So what, and in the definition of that function part, what you will return? You will return a plus b. So what a plus b will return to you? 5 plus 7, that is your 12, right? So same thing we are doing over here. These props are basically used to add the state or add some properties to your existing element. So another way of handling components properties is by using prop. If you don't want to use this dot state, then you can use prop. Props are like function arguments, as I already told you, and you send them into a component as attributes. You will learn more about props in the next chapter. So as you can see, the next chapter is basically focused to the props, but still I will give you an idea that how these things work. So they are saying that don't only use this bit of code. Don't use constructor. Constructor is another way. But if you don't want to use constructor, then only use this part. What they are doing, that they are using this dot prop dot color. They are not using any constructor. They have used here this dot props. So that means they want you that whenever you are calling your component, with that you send them the prop. Okay. So what I have to do, I have to just export it. Export default car. That is done. Now while calling my function, this is difference. This dot state dot color will work when there is a constructor, but this is not this dot state dot color. It is this dot props dot color. So it is asking you for a property and where to pass this property whenever you are calling that. So while calling this car, here I have to set that property. Okay. So what is the property? It is color. So I can define it as color to be purple. Okay. And as soon as I move to the output screen now, so are you able to see? I am a purple car is coming. So what you have done, you have rendered the color through the help of prop. as an argument, you have just shared it. So while calling a function, as you pass the argument, same thing you are doing here. While calling your component, you are sharing any property like color or whatever is defined over there, that you have to send. So it was saying you to share the color property, so that's why I have shared the color property. If it will ask you a car name, you have to share the car name as per your requirement. And how to share it? First of all, you have to use this car component syntax, then add color property, and in the double quotes you have to pass the property that it is having a color red, it is having a color blue, green, and up to your choice. Okay, I hope it is clear. Now props in the constructor. This is something. So as the next portion is basically based on React props only. So I'm not going to much deep dive into this right now. Right. So that we can only focus on the props when it will come in upcoming part. Okay. Yes. So now what we can do? Components in components. Now, we have already seen this component in components part in the functional component, right? What we have done over there, that in functional component, we have seen that component is component means that there will be a parent component in which the small child component will be called. So same thing they are doing over here. Just the difference is that was functional component and right now they are using class component. So let's try to see it also. Class car extends React.component. Okay, no problem in that. They have created a class component having name car. And what they are returning? They are returning I am a car. No problem. The syntax difference is there. Okay. Now class garage extends React.component. Okay. And what it is doing, it is returning us two things. First of all, a h1 tag and then the other component. What is the other component? The car component. Okay, that is also good. No problem in that. What they are doing, who lives in my garage? And after that, hi, I am a car should come. So let's try to execute it. Same output we will get. So just a second, not in app.jsx. I have to move to my car.jsx. This is the line where I am writing my code. So if I just remove this bit of code, so can you see? We have imported the React library, okay, so that this React.component will work fine. After that, what we have to do now? There is a mistake. Can anyone like guess it that what is the mistake over here? Okay, I am giving you time to just notice that what is the mistake. Okay, so if you caught it, then great, you are doing good. But if you not, then please focus on the basic things also. That is important. See, the major component, the functional parent component is garage. And what I am doing, I am calling only car. So this is the mistake. So when I am exporting it, I have to export this garage component because garage component is the parent component over here because car component is used inside garage component. Okay. Now, if I move to app.jsx, now let me know that what should I have to change over here? Yes, right. I have to change this import garage. Whatever you export, you have to import that. And same thing I have to do over here, garage. And everything must be starting from the capital letter if we are talking about a particular component. Okay, if I move to the output screen now, so as soon as I have done everything correct, you will get the output who lives in my garage and I am a car. This is component in component and we are learning it in our class components. Okay, components in files. We have already seen that what is it mean that component in file. Component in file means that you have to create a separate file for it. You have to export that file and then you have to import it in another file. We are already doing that from the starting of our class, right? And I hope that it is very clear to you. Yes. So this is something which we have done already. Like we are importing car from the file name and then doing it. Okay. Now there is something that creating the state object. So I will start with this. See, up to life cycle of component we are going to cover today. Why? Because this is a separate topic which we have to start in a new I don't want that all the things will be mixed up. So for life cycle of component, we will start in the upcoming session, like mounting, updating, and unmounting. But today we will finish this one also. And I hope that everything is clear to you. And if not, then just pause the session at your end. You have this library. So just pause the session. Make sure that each concept must be clear to you. I have already explained multiple times each thing. So I don't think that whatever is written over here, that will cause you any type of difficulty. If you are going to listen everything in detail, okay, and if you are going to just execute this code simultaneously with me, then I can guarantee that there will be no doubt. Okay. Now, React class component state. Okay. So what we have done up to now. Okay, let's try to see about this, that what they are saying over here. This bit of code, let's explain this bit of code. Now all of you can do that also, but I am also telling you that what is happening over here. They are created a class component having name car. There is a constructor and there is a super keyword. Now constructor is using props over here, means whenever you will be calling your component, you can share that prop. Otherwise, this prop will be used as this. No problem. Now, what they are doing, this dot state, okay, that set the state of brand to the value Ford. Okay, so as soon as if I am called my this dot state dot brand, then it should result you Ford. That my Ford car will be written over here. So this is not a good example. Let's move to this. Okay, now let's check about this one. That what they have written over here. So they are saying that instead of defining only a single property, instead of defining only brand value as Ford, what you can do, you can create an object. This is known as object in JavaScript. Object means there will be multiple functionality or key value attribute must be present there. Object, as soon as you hear about an object in JavaScript, that is key and value. This brand is the key and for its is value. Model is the key, Mustang is its value. Color is the key, red is the value. Same goes for year is the key and 1964 is the value. So they are saying you that through this dot state, you can append, you can assign an object to it, and accordingly you can rectify all the values from it. So suppose as a user, if I have to get the value of model, so what I am going to do, this dot state dot model. So in the render part, what should it will provide me? It will provide me on my web page Mustang. If I do this dot state dot year, then what should it provide me? 1964. Right now they have don't used it over here. So I will scroll a bit. I will see for example where they have used it, and then I will just go to VS Code and try to tell you that how it is working. So yes, now this is a perfect example. This example, first of all, have a look at it. Okay, I know that now you can basically execute it, dry run it at your end also, and then we will move to the VS Code also. So just have a look at it, then I will explain it, and then we will move to the VS Code part to execute this. Okay. Just see that what is happening over here. Like class car is there, so that clicks you that okay, that it is a class component. It is extending your React component. From where it is coming? From the React library. We have to import React library to have the functionality for it. Okay. Then there is a constructor and this super keyword. When this constructor will come into a play, as soon as a user will call our functional component, that time this constructor will work. As soon as this constructor will work, what should happen? This dot state will work. This dot state is telling you that to the current element, to the current object, whatever you have created, set the brand value for it to be Ford. Okay. Set the model to be Mustang. So this is an object. This is basically the object look like key value attribute inside a single curly brace, curly parenthesis. So you can see model is Mustang, color is red, and year is 1964. Now it is returning you something. Okay. Let's see what it is returning. My this dot state dot brand. So what should it provide? Ford. Okay. My Ford Then in paragraph, what it is returning? It is a, okay, this dot state dot color. So what should be the output now? Red. My Ford, it is a red. Then this dot state dot model, which will provide you Mustang, and from this dot state dot year, which is this dot state mapped to year, and what it should give? 1964. So the output, the final output after executing this code must be my Ford, it is a red Mustang from 1964. That should be the output. We have dry run it. So to verify it, what we have to do? We have to just go to VS Code. We have to execute this file and everything will be clear. So let's move to car.jsx. Here it is. I have to change the whole code for it now. Yes, here it is. Now, as class car is there, I have to export it, right? So how to export it? Export default and then this car. Okay, perfect. This we have done. That this brand value is Ford, model is Mustang, color is red, and year is 1964. Okay. Now, my whatever brand name is Ford, this should be come at our end. But let's check that app.jsx is importing it. No, app.jsx is importing garage. So we have to change it to car, and here we have to do it car also. Okay, wait. Now, just a second. I have imported. Yeah, this car is there. And what I have to do over here, I have to change this as car. Okay, now let's check the output. My Ford, it is a red Mustang from 1964, as there is a basically no separation in the code, so that's why it is coming. Oh, wait. If I just do it something like this, then is there will be any difference? No. So it is a red Mustang from 1964, my Ford. So that's how they are telling you that you can initialize the current values according to you. And that is not mandatory that you have to use a single type of, you can say, key over here, that only you can set one property at a time. You can use an object over there, and through object, you can set multiple properties at a time. So this is the main motive of this code. Clear? Now that is clear. After this, there is another function. Now, okay, so we are going to create, we can do one thing, that we are just adding few values over here, and those value are basically rendered to our website. But what if we want to create a button, and clicking on button, some of these value will change? Okay, no problem in that. We can also do that in React. And so for that, we have to use another function, which is this dot set state. So now let's try to understand that what does it mean and how we are going to use it. That will be the last topic of today's session. So just make sure that you will be attentive, and this is an important one. Okay, so let's see. To change a value in state object, this dot set state is used. Means whatever, suppose if you have appended some state, okay, and you want to change. Right now I have set it the color to red, but I want that as user will click a button, that red color should change to pink, suppose. Okay, so how that can be done? It can be done through this function, which is this dot set state. So through set state, you can change the value set it in initial state. Okay, let's see. Let first of all, I'm going to dry run this in front of you. Then we will move to VS Code and then check with the output. Just make sure, don't hesitate with the length of this code. Just try to also understand each and every line, and it will look a very easy code for you. So let's start with the first line. Okay, it is a class component and having name car. It is calling a constructor whenever we are going to call this class component car component. It will call our constructor. Through constructor, what is happening? It is setting the states. This dot state. Okay. Brand value as Ford, model as Mustang, color is red, and year is 1964. Okay, that is quite easy. We have already seen this now multiple times. Now see what is happening. There is a function change color. Okay, it is a arrow function. No problem. When this will get called, what should happen? This dot set state. Now you know that this dot set state can change the current state. Whatever will be the current state, this dot set state will change that state, right? And what you are changing? Change the color to blue. See here, what is the color through this dot state? The color is red. But I don't want it to be red. I want it to be blue, suppose. So for that, what you have to do, you have to call your this dot set state function. Only this function has the power or properties to change the state for now. Okay, so how it will change? Color to blue. As soon as user will call this function, change color function, it will change the color. And what is the logic behind it? Because it is using set state color. It is using set state function. Okay, no problem. Now let's see that what is in the return part. H1 tag, this dot state dot brand, it is Ford of color red of model 1964, something like that will come. No problem. Then you will see a button. There is some additional HTML written over here. This is nothing, just a button. And on clicking that button, see what it is doing. On clicking that button, it will call your change color. So what is the change color definition? Change color definition is this, that you have to change the color from red to blue. And how it is happening, that you have also mentioned, because of this set state. Only this dot set state have the function properties to change the color. So it will be more clear if we will just move to VS Code, right? And then if here, just a second. Okay, here it is. Now what I will do, I will export it. No problem. What is happening? You have a constructor at your end. No problem. This will initialize some states to the object, like brand value as Ford, model as Mustang, color red. No problem. There is a change color function. As soon as user will click on the button, it will call this change color function. This is the code written for it, that when a user is going to click on a button, on click, what should it will do? This dot change color. It will call this dot change color function. Here it is. So, and through this, you are changing the color to blue. So let's see what is happening. If I refresh it, okay, just a second. Is there something which I have to check? Oh, yes, here one line is missing. And what is that? We forgot to import React. Import React from React. Now it will work fine. If I move here, if I refresh it now, so you are seeing my Ford, it is a red. Just make sure that you have the focus of the color. Right now it is red, but as soon as I am going to click on this change color button, then you will notice the change. Are you able to see? Now there the color is blue. So this is something which we can't perform through functional component. We have not the access of these type of function. We don't have access to state over there. So for that, this class components were used in traditional time. And it is only possible because of this dot set state, through which you are going to set the new state. Okay, perfect. I hope that it is clear to you. Then there is a note. Always use the set state method to change the state object. It will ensure that the component node it's been updated, and call render method. Nothing, they are just letting you know that whenever you are using the set state, that means that you definitely want that to be changed in the actual code. Okay, now we are going to see about lifecycle of component, as this is a new topic, and it is basically uh, different from the topics which we have already read or covered. So I will make sure that this we can start in the upcoming session. Okay, like what is mounting, what is updating, what is unmounting. Don't worry if you haven't any idea about it. I will let you know about each and everything. So yes, this is the main motive of today's session, that you have to be familiar with some class component, the functional component, what is the, how you can set the state through constructor, how you can use this dot set state. That thing basically we have to cover. Okay, I hope that everything is now clear to you, right? So yes, we'll connect tomorrow and we'll cover about the thing which is life cycle of React. That will be tomorrow's topic. Okay. So thank you so much, and happy learning.